some of the principles that are being emphasized. The Froebel gifts and occupations are a set of materials that Froebel gift created in educating the whole child. And most importantly with the Froebel gifts and occupations is it really helps to learn through your sensory input. Also, you notice that you're sitting in a circle, and Froebel gift play is always in a circle. And the idea is that it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about collaborative learning. You're going to give me an idea, I'm going to give one of your idea, we're going to give and take. And that's what learning is about. It's not just mine, don't copy. Okay? It's about continuously sharing. You think of some of the initiatives right now in education with SEL, social emotional learning, pragmatics, I know is a big thing, sensory integration, fine motor skills, all of these types of things. The reason I was so attracted to Froebel was I truly saw what a genius he was. In 1839, he figured out how the mind was wired. He figured out how we developed information from sensory input and how that has to be first and foremost in young learners, making sure those sensory pathways are open. He also emphasized how social, emotional, how grounded, how stress, how things like that can block learning, and that coming to a safe environment where you're a risk taker and that people would respect your voice and your voice is honored in the learning process. Remember, if you went to a school where he had a strict schoolmaster that told them what to do, how to do it, and you had no voice. And if you deviated from the lesson, you were punished. So a very different mindset. And then he put gifts in play that, as I said this morning, you will never find a book written on how to do Froebel gifts. Froebel gifts is a mindset of teaching and learning. It's about how you go about a learning process, and there's no right or wrong. And so even the numbering system of 1 through 20, you don't necessarily follow. You jump around based on what it is that your learning situation calls for, which is why the Froebel gifts is kind of a hard thing to wrap your hands around in today's day and age. You only have so much time, you have so much you have to teach. How do I get it all done? So what we're going to do today is in the booklet that I gave you, I gave a lot of examples, and there were 3 things, if you remember from this morning's class: forms of life, forms of knowledge, forms of beauty. You learn in 3 ways. Forms of life is you make connections to your own life. You do that through, oh wait, this looks like this. You make comparisons, right? You do it through story, okay? A lot of language involved, but that personal connection, relating it to a previous experience or a previous encounter. Second way you learn is you gather knowledge. You do it quantitatively and qualitatively. And you need to have the vocabulary as well as the observation skills to be able to acquire that knowledge. And the third is you remember it because it resonated with you. It was something that was interesting. It was something that struck you as pleasing. And so forms of life, forms of knowledge, forms of beauty is how he wants kids to always learn through all of these gift activities. So many of you in the first class, was the first one, we were going through at a record pace. Second one, we got through everything, but they didn't get to play as much. So you see gift 2 hanging right now. And I want you to just, here's a couple of things. I want you to take a couple of moments to be able to play. Lynn White, Colleen Trevor are here too, and we'll be walking around the room to show you how you can manipulate the gift. But one of the ideas of the gift play is that gift 1 is seen in gift 2. And if you take the cylinder and you put it on the side, and you go like this, or you spin it, you're going to see a sphere inside. And so there's shapes within shapes. And so movement can change the way that a shape looks. And so this is one that if you are working with 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6-year-olds, they are enthralled by this one. This is the one that they can sit and spin for hours. And they're learning so much about surfaces and edges and points and how movement can distort that. When I ring the bell, here's my one thing. You step away from the gift, right? Everybody wants to keep playing. Step away from the gift so that we can move on to the next one. So I want you to make sure everybody has a chance to play. So take about 3 or 4 minutes to play with gift 2, and then I'll tell you what we're going to be doing. I think a lot of you guys are new here, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you would like and you stretch it, and it gives it a perpetual motion. You see the sphere inside? Okay. The other one that is interesting is how many of you teach butterflies? When a child looks at this, they say and that's called it. Well, what happens when I go like this? It's like we gained a few, right? And if you take a butterfly wings and wings in motion, it's very different than what it looks like in a still versus in movement. And so what he's doing is he's really teaching kids to observe in nature, but he also recognizes that movement is in nature. And sometimes that can be so all of these, if you look at gift 1 is a sphere, right? Everything is repeated. So there's a sphere, and then you take the bottom down and you get a cylinder. And now I have 3 surfaces which are these. And I push it in and I have 6 surfaces. And so you see the movement here. To a cylinder, to a cube. Everything in life comes from unity and especially if you study biological sciences, right? That's where I think you'll see in physical when you get divided. And even when you look at gift 7, which is this one, plane, molecular biology and how things fold, or botany on how things fold and evolve. It starts as a seed, and how can it evolve into something that really makes you interested. So you can either do it on here or go here, and you notice that there are different ways to explore it. You can do it on a corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and play. Okay, some of you are okay. So notice right? And then take a Play-Doh and push it down to the top and you get a cylinder. And one of the great things with the sphere is cylinder and a cube. So the 3D object. Kids love it. They're like, this is not a sphere, it's more of a cylinder tile. Look at this. And they really start to see shaping the nature of the sphere. If you spin this, you start to see shapes, different shapes.
Oh, this is all
And if you notice that there's
I see it now. Sorry, I see it at the bottom.
those are the questions.
Oh, yeah, that must be
The other thing is to put some on motion. Like in motion, like you broke it. And if you spin it on the side, what looks like 8 corners looks like 10 or 12 corners. They're actually butterfly wings. And so what he wanted to do very early on was to teach us that just because you're doing something, if it's in motion, it might know something. And so
Yeah, she like me a bit.
we all like to take a minute and play.
Try different screens. I don't know if this one's longer, but like. Like this. Right, next year's too late.
Much more soothing sound than screaming over everybody. I realized a lot of you don't know my background. I'm actually in the Winnetka Public Schools, and I'm a speech language pathologist there. When I was at Northwestern, I was biology, psychology I was interested in, led me into the field of cognitive sciences. There I pursued speech language, learning disabilities, audiology, occupational therapy, sensory integration, neurodevelopmental training. And then outside of school, I do a lot with Roots and Shoots, which is conservation, getting kids out in nature. I travel internationally with older kids in the summer, and I run a program on the weekends of getting kids out in nature, doing nature journaling exercises, really doing a lot of stewardship for the planet. So observation and problem solving are at the heart of what I do. One of the neat things about my job is when I go in and co-teach or go in with a classroom teacher, I don't need tests. I can really watch, I need tests, but I can watch a child within just a few minutes and really say, oh, there's a visual spatial, there's fine motor, there's auditory, there's language. And so what I'm trying to do is help teachers pick up on the underlying neurodevelopment that's going on in kids, because too often we put Band-Aids on things because we think we know what it is, but if we don't, then the kid gets frustrated more and the problem can escalate. I also think testing can be really off-putting for kids, and if we can do something through play and fun to try to underline how their mind is wired, I want to do that. And I also know that neuroplasticity of the brain, the sooner we get in with the right strategies, the sooner we can develop those neural pathways. So I go in and we do a lot of Froebel gift activities together. Froebel gift activities, if your kids have never done Froebel gifts and they're, let's say, 5-year-olds, you could probably sit down with a group of 6 in a circle. If they're great and they're have a lot of good listening skills, language skills, you can probably do a group of 8. So when I give those numbers, it kind of tells you that you need 2 or 3 teachers in a classroom doing activities together. And so we use a lot of the resource staff at really to push in and do these kinds of experiences with kids. I can tell you that if kids have been playing with the Froebel gifts at age 3, by age 5 or 6, when I was in Canada, you could have 10 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds sitting around the table and do an activity with them. They understand, they respect the materials, they know what to do with the materials, they know the format of learning, and they also know that their voice is being represented in the play experience and that it's a collaborative process. But it's the whole process of the Froebel gift play and exploration. So as I walk around, I know some of you have heard it, some of you haven't, so I'm kind of balancing the two. Just continue to ask me questions, but I wanted to kind of give people an overview of that. So we're going to put gift 2 away and just leave the stands out, but put the pieces in. And I'm going to have you grab gift 3 with a partner. And in your folders,
That's why I will see
okay, in your folders there's 2 things. There's a board. Notice there's 2 boxes. And this is a construction sequence. If you have children in 3, 4, and 5, especially with visual spatial, I highly suggest you start them with a board. They don't have a sense of space, and the reason the grid was created was to help them gain a sense of visual space. And what I'd like you to do is take a moment, and we talked in the first class about Froebel gift play, and it's about deconstruction and reconstruction. Every piece in Froebel gift play is always used. A child's never allowed to put a couple pieces off to the side. Every single one has to be used. And it's the sense of unity, the sense of wholeness, law of conservation of mass, where we deconstruct, reconstruct, reconfigure, and then we take it back to the whole. So if you look at this construction sequence that I gave you, you should start with the cube and you end with the cube. Now, some of you were not here, and you never slide the top off and take them out and dump them out. There's a process, and it's in your book as well, but I'll model for you. What you do is you take the gift, you flip it upside down, you pull out the bottom, and then what we say to the kids, we say up, up, and away. And we put it behind our seat, and we don't use the container at all. When we put it back, we build up from the base. Okay? Can anyone tell me what is going on by reconstructing the way that you found it? What underlying neurodevelopment is being tapped into? Visual memory, okay? And then you put it back down, and then you flip it over, and you slide it in, okay? So gift 3 and gift 4 is the sense of wholeness, sense of unity, and also we said by calling these gifts, there's a different approach. If it's just materials, they get on the floor, but a gift is something to be respected, it's something to be honored, and to take care of. It's precious, it's been given to you. And so therefore, how you open and put away the gift is all a part of the process. So try either the building construction, or if you want to do the bird's eye view, which you see the patterns at the bottom. What's important in the visual sequence along the bottom is that you see that all of the pieces are still being used and they're being used slightly. And some kids really struggle when you start to rotate a block 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees. They don't see it. So these types of activities really help to develop that skill. So give it a try. X3. And you'll also see that the need for balance and the sense of gravity is being set there. And what's interesting here is see these little rotations, or these little movements. Some kids are saying it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And then it really tells you what they can and cannot. So if you're asking them to form a letter, you're asking them to count. They always flop. They know what they would do. So like the guys that are doing this, my little boy was and so then I was able to jump in and say, okay, that's some occupation work with
And I'm wondering if he is looking at the different shapes, you know, that are
and I really worked on those underlying skills and I wanted to come back and do it each time.
this is something that could help you, I know, detect dyslexia, things like
You know what you want to do is think about what we do. I know. It is. Let's go back. So you're addressing it, and if we can rebuild their own pathway before they start reading, once you put it on top of these, it just sort of just a little finding and it's that sense of wanting to listen and I got it. It's right now driving force. So it really does mean it's not the parent.
His mom's parents are like trying to different shade of blue. Trying to figure out what to do. I'm not getting hungry. Yeah. Probably quicker than me.
It's too really young.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, super fun.
I saw a lot of cheers, a lot of yay, I got it. And I saw a lot of disbelief when I said 5-year-olds can do this. Here's the thing, everyone's on their own learning curve, and kids are so motivated to keep coming back and trying. And the great thing is remember with the Froebel community, you always have a friend there to help. And eventually, they get it. And then everybody else is also cheering you on. And so it's just a Froebel Get Play. You see the movement. You see how if they don't pick up on a slight change, like of the angle of the cube on the two-dimensional plane, if they're not picking up on that, how on earth are they going to do something with the drawing of a letter? And so these are things that you can really pick up on and say, he's not seeing that I shifted this 45 degrees. He's not seeing that I shifted this 90 degrees. What can I do to help enhance that visual perception so that we can work on those underlying skills? And that's what we're doing constantly in Froebel Get Play. And that's why it's so important to start with the little ones on it. They love this activity, that's why I included it. I wanted you to walk away with something you can do. Even if you don't own a Froebel gift set, you can get 8 sugar cubes and do it. Okay, so there's always ways to, and I'm sure you've got plenty of unit cubes in your classrooms. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to keep gift 3 out, and I want you to also get out gift 4. Okay, now, what I'm going to have you do is you're sitting in partners, right? And one of you gets gift 3 and the other one gets gift 4. And I'm going to ask you to make something. And everyone's going to make it with whichever gift they have. And if you want to alternate, you can gift 3 versus gift 4, okay? So the example I gave this morning is I want everybody with their gift to make a chair. Just make a chair. However you envision a chair. Nope, you do yours with 3 and here's my hand. Okay, as you look around your table, remember we're all learning from each other. How much variation did you get in gift 3? You get a lot of variation. And you get more variation in gift 4. More variation. And that's the question I asked. Why? Because the kids realize, well, there's 3 different surfaces that I could prop the block on, which gives me more variety, okay? And so even just how things increase exponentially is starting to be instilled. Okay, now with gift 3, what I want you to do at gift 4 is I want you to make a train. Can you repeat that? A train. If I was sitting at your table, I might say, gosh, I want the wheels to look like real train wheels. Okay, and you'll be like, oh, I like that idea. Okay, and again, if you look around your table, you look at how people made it with gift 3 versus gift 4, is there a lot of variation again with gift 4? Yes? Okay. All right, and then we'll do one more. I want you to just make a house.
Okay, there's clearly there's.
Okay, up here, they said, wait, your house looks like your chair. But these are the types of conversations that are coming out. The wonderful thing about gift 3 and gift 4 is there's only 8 pieces, and 8 pieces was purposeful. If you only have 8 pieces, you're not overwhelming the child, number one. There's enough that they can manipulate and do and feel successful. And most important is in the prompt that I gave you, could you really exactly represent what it is I asked you to build, especially like a train? No, you had to use imagination, right? And so think about that, thinking abstractly on what something is, saying that this cube right here, this is a wheel, okay? And so you're asking kids to take that risk, to take that chance. Okay, is there a group of teachers here all from the same school? Sort of?
There's a number of them.
Number of them? Okay. You know what I want you to do is, all of you have taught us study, right? I want you to take your gift and represent something from your study that you particularly like. So right now in Winnetka we're studying winter birds in kindergarten. And so I might take gift 3 and say, oh, I want to make a cardinal, okay? So what I'd like you to do is just a study that you particularly like and represent it some way with gift 3 or gift 4. Whatever you like.
So what's your mark? I'm gonna try to make
With all of them?
the bears. Hibernation. I like it as a so it looks like it's yeah.
That looks like a butterfly. That looks like a bird.
Which I bird. Okay, I thought this one was going to be
Alright, is this your, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Are you guys ready to share? Yeah. Okay, can I have your attention up here? Up here? Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have this table share. I'll put y'all on the spot at one point. And if you want to stand up and just see what they've done, and then I'm going to show you what a connecting story is. What I'm trying to do very quickly today is show you a whole bunch of different activities of where you can take something so simple and take it in many different ways in your classroom. So you made
A butterfly.
a butterfly, and you made,
Well, we were trying for a butterfly, but it looks more like a bird.
okay, so you're into the bird study. You made
I made a hibernation cave.
hibernation cave, okay?
I did sailboat. We're doing transportation.
A sailboat, okay?
I did rows of corn.
Rows of corn, okay?
I did a cow.
A cow, okay. So what happens with a connecting story is, remember I said that social emotional component is so important? They went around the table and they all shared what they created, abstract as it may be, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave it all together in a story. Remember, forms of life tie into story. And when you hear your representation used in the story, what you do is you raise your hand. And why do children raise their hand? My voice was heard, my voice was recognized, my voice is part of the whole. And that physical act of raising your hand, you just see their excitement. They just shoot it up, like you got it. The fact that you remember me, the fact that my voice matters. So that's such a huge component. So what I would say is, once upon a time there was a cardinal that was flying around Winnetka, and it decided to go on a journey. And on its journey, it first stopped at a birdhouse where it met a fellow bird. And it ate a little food for nourishment. And as it was sitting there eating, it saw a butterfly fly by. Oh, it must be spring, it said. And as it was flying, he noticed a hibernation cave. And he said, oh, those bears must not be hibernating anymore because spring is in the air. And when he looked out on Lake Michigan, there was a sailboat coming into the harbor, so he knew that summer would soon be here. But he decided to keep traveling, and he went down to the southern states, and as he was flying over, he saw rows of corn in the field. And next to those rows of corn, there was a cow. And he liked this cow so much, he decided to stop and have a rest and talk with the cow for a while. The cardinal was so excited about all that he had seen and learned on his journey, he wasn't sure if he should stay or leave, but eventually he decided to fly back to Winnetka and live happily for the rest of the summer. The end. Okay. So the fact that I included all of their ideas, I used to do this as part of a kindergarten screening. It was myself with 4 children, and we used gift 3. And our kindergarten screening was usually in January, the first week in January. And I said, my prompt was simple. It was, what do you love about the winter? And the kids would put gifts all over. I love the snow falling down. I love snowmen. I love hills. And then I would do a connecting story. And then the kids wanted to do the connecting story themselves. So I'm looking at sequencing. I'm looking at memory, right? I'm looking at the way that they're weaving it through together. Do they have a beginning and end? All these sorts of components to their language. And what was interesting was some kids would just repeat the story that I did the first time. They couldn't go beyond that, and that's okay. I understood their starting point. Other kids jumped on and went in a totally different direction, and I saw where their thinking was. But a 5-minute activity told me so much more about their language than any screening assessment I would put in front of them. And so I wanted to walk away really having a sense of how can I get into that classroom, how can I help that teacher, and how can, regardless of where they are, help every student go, not just the low, all students be able to raise to that next level. So that's something we did with like a different screening and assessment. So what I'm going to have you do is remember you build from the base up, put gift 3 and gift 4 away, and I'll tell you what we're doing. Build on the lid. Thank you, Ms. White. Don't worry, you're going to get that one out of us. Okay, we're going to click along at a fast pace here. A couple of things. This afternoon, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought we were going to do a lot more gift play this morning. Clearly, I had high expectations and didn't have a good concept of time. I figured that you don't all have gifts at home, and so I would rather have you do more of these activities here with me, and then I'll send you home with occupations to do. In your, on the left-hand side is perforation, and perforation involves, you can put that sheet right over the paper, and then what I would do is I would put the piece of felt underneath, okay? Just like this. And what really works is that you have a placemat at home, okay? And there's all different types of awls and things you can use. And the kids can either just go right on top of the point, right? You'll also see that there's a blank sheet in your folders. And those of you who are working with a little bit older students might set it up where this is off to the side and they have to transfer it on. You see how the skills have just increased, okay? In Winnetka, Jason Sheets isn't here. He's one of the kindergarten teachers. He took the perforation exercises and has one at a time, kind of like as a flip chart that he has at the table. There's different types of awls. This is one. And if you think about it, what are you doing? And look at how you gotta hold it. Can you do it like this and hit the point? No. So do we need those pencil grips if we're using awls at a young age? Well, here's my OT side of me. So I took this, and this is just a carpenter's nail. A lot easier for 3s and 4s, right? Real simple modification. And here's another one. Huh? It's just a little, this one. You can get a little doll piece. Home Depot, Lowe's, okay? And you can also get them like this, okay? Sometimes you need a little bit of weight for the kids to be able to manage it. Other times they need this. But what's interesting is when you do perforation work, that fine motor grasp all of a sudden gets worked on. They also absolutely love, and Lynn can attest to this, after they've punched, going like this and seeing all the perforated sheets. They're just like, oh. And you notice that I did something with letters and numbers and directionality. So there's a lot you can do with perforation. So that's in there. There's a a drawing exercise as well as a cutting paper. The thing with the drawing exercises is it's vertical lines, curved lines, horizontal lines, diagonal lines, left to right, right to left, all these sorts of things, top to bottom, bottom up. If you're doing these types of exercises with kids, they really get in control of the visual space which they're trying to make letters in, right? You can use the big graph paper, you can use the small graph paper. So it gives you an idea of where it goes. And then once they've got command of the lines, Froebel will say, of course, just create open space. But they're able to do it much more successfully. You also have cutting paper. Cutting paper is like drawing with scissors. And on the back, it shows you how you fold the paper. And half of you are going to get it right and half of you aren't. And you know what? Part of cutting paper and trying to fold it the right way so that the cuts work is part of the problem solving. Wait a minute, when I unfolded it, it doesn't look, so how could I fold this paper another way? That's why I didn't give you too much directions like I would the kids. You're all adults, so you get to play with that a little bit, okay? The other thing is you notice that every piece that is cut is used. Remember, nothing's wasted. Everything is incorporated into the design, okay? So those are some things. If you were here earlier, there was pea and stick work. And if you weren't here, I've got extras. And pea and stick work, I take sticks, little twigs from nature, and you can soak peas, soak them overnight, and then the next day let them drain, and they're great. And you can put together the constructions. Oh, here they are. But I gave you raisins. Raisins work really well. And you can see the types of creations. They get really good at this. With 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, I just give them the materials, create. And then they get a sense of using the material, and then they want to try to copy or imitate, okay? There's another activity. when I gave origami to the teachers in Winnetka, I said, okay, we're going to do an origami class. I thought I was going to be hung. Origami's tough when you're an adult because you're not so much a risk taker. What I have here is it's a paper folding activity, and what's neat with this is it's kite paper. Did you see that? Okay. And in here, you can use tissue paper, and when you put tissue paper up on the wall, it's beautiful, and especially with snowflakes and everything right now. And it's a very simple activity, and the reason I chose this one for you is I knew a lot of you were working with younger kids. But when you go like this, fold it in half, and you're making a triangle, okay? And then you open it up, and you're making another triangle. But what happens with the paper, because it's too and people see. You start to see the inner shape forming. The reason I use two colors on the origami and the paper folding is kids can then all of a sudden see the triangles, the shapes within the shapes. And an activity that I do with the 4th grade is after they make this one simple paper folding activity is how many triangles are there? And they love it. And actually what they tend to do is they tend to take one of different colors so it's easier for them to count them all. And so, but these types of activities with paper folding are real simple. The end result, you can put them on your windows, they're beautiful, and the kids are just so excited by it. And since there's snow outside and snowflakes are being discussed, there's that activity. The last one that I'm going to give you to take home, and then we're going to do another Froebel gift play is, it's called Thinking with the Line. And Dr. Kathy Weissman-Topol, she's from Brown University. She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And you know how we talked about, you know, the different hues of color. What she does with kids is incredible. If you signed up on the website, on the email, I'll send you a website, and there's a demonstration video. There's a sheet here, and remember how I said that with perforation it was point to point, and you let, embroidery, it was point to point, and you let the thread take care of it? This, thinking with the line, you dip it in paint, and you go like this. And so you're not drawing the line, the card is making the line. And so her website is up here, the card I'm giving you as well. You can also take key cards from hotels, okay? Ask the parents to collect. You also saw in the video they were using paper towel rollers with the curved line, and they were just creating. In 2nd grade, we do an architecture unit studying Frank Lloyd Wright, and this is what they use. They only are allowed to use this as a tool. They're not allowed to draw. But they learn to smush and be creative. But thinking with the line is an amazing activity that is just a ton of fun. With the 4th graders, they use this, and we made skeletons at Halloween time. And so it really gives you a sense of where line is found in form, and that's what we're after, okay? All right, so what I want you to do, if you are daring, open gift 5. If you're not so daring, open gift 6, okay? And make sure you see how it looks so you can put it back together. Okay, because everybody was late. Need an extra 10 minutes. A lot of cigarettes, you know?
Yeah, that's
here's a couple of things. Gift 5, remember, you have to put back, okay? If you open gift 5, raise your hand. Okay, I'll find you, so we'll do it together. But you see that you do a row of fourths, a row of halves, a row of solids, and then you build 9 solids on top, okay?
Wait,
Okay.
so it's fourths, so on the bottom. So you take that up too.
When you build back up, but, yeah. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, but you get it. Okay. So, in your folder. Okay, in your folders, there is instructions for gift 5 and gift 6. If you can listen for just a minute and then I'll let you play. I want you to look at this row right here on gift 5. If you try to count the number of blocks represented, you can't. Some are hidden. So you see how empty space and hidden form, and you have to understand structure? That's the challenge, okay? And so even some of the young kids who are in kindergarten, first grade, who are big Lego builders, I challenge them with these. And they're just completely enthralled by it because they're like, now wait a minute, I have a piece left over, and I go, you gotta use all of them. And they go back, and it's just a problem solving. So take a moment and pick one of the constructions off of gift 5 or gift 6, and hopefully we'll have time for one more activity, okay?
I kind of like that first. This one? Go for it. No, I think you're really no, right? But she's we didn't get very far. So it's very sorry. Back in my office. Like you're how many holes are there? Okay. Her father's a college now, and she said everything. Are these all like different? Oh, it's just everything. Yeah, it's not too bad. What's going on?
I know.
But these are one. This is a half.
So is it here? That's the shadow quarters down here. So it's just figured out. No, you're fine. But I have like that doesn't look like a sphere. Oh, I see. I literally read that.
And it's all about how you have to
So it's not like how you rise back. Building the kitchen. I'll take that one. But the other one is probably be you need help.
Notice that this is a diagonal edge, right? So how do we accommodate that? And you notice that these 3 points, and see how this is sent over?
No, they go on.
I don't know that. And then you ask them like, and they're like,
Then you got
on that side, maybe it is the side or no. And then this Square. Yeah, the square goes in the middle.
Okay, so we have one, so what we need to do is we need to trade. We need to trade half. You're not gonna get one.
Some of you were able to complete, others were left a little stumped. And that's purposeful, and as I was explaining to different groups, when you have them do gift 5 and gift 6, I always tell the kids, well, go with what you absolutely know, and then what's left over, and the problem solving process of that. What's interesting is building with gift 5 and gift 6 after a copying kind of model. What's great about it is you take them out in nature and you have them observe flowers or leaves or trees. They look with a whole new perspective, a whole new depth. And I mean that sincerely. And I can't tell a child to look deeper. They have to bring it to the experience themselves. But I can model in fun ways in which we really have to think, problem solve, count, analyze. And what kids also realize is sometimes that is in a 2D picture depiction is very different than what it actually looks like. Gift 5 and gift 6, don't be afraid to use it with young kids. I know there's a lot of pieces, but the kids are really good about counting them all out. Believe it or not, in December, I had a group of kindergartners, I had 6 that I was with, and they mixed all of them together, and they wanted to make one giant castle. And then they had to sort all the pieces and put them back in, and that in and of itself is a lesson, right? Okay, so I want to do one more activity since we're given a few more minutes. And I'm going to have you get out gift 7. And what I'm going to have you do is get 8 squares.
While you're getting those out, I found one rectangle from gift 4. If anybody has 7 in a gift 4 and not 8, just let me know. We can look at the end, but it's always easier to just see one that has a question. Actually, I found it on the floor. You know, there's always
When you work with gift 7, the reason I gave you this
gift 4.
is this is a really nice surface to move the gift on. It also gives them a sense of boundaries, okay? And younger kids need some kind of definitive space. They just can't have the whole table, okay? So 8 squares. One thing that you're going to learn with the Froebel gifts is on that gift 5 and gift 6, how many people know what a barrier game is? Anybody know what a barrier game is? A barrier game is if I am building a structure, I know everyone's putting things back. If I'm building a structure, I put a folder up. And my partner is on the other side. And I have to use language to describe exactly what I built. Start with gift 3. That's all I can tell you. And also use the grid as a way to help kids learn directionalities, okay? You can say in one column, in one row. So we're getting into some of the graphing vocabulary. So if you take 8 squares, I'm going to do a quick activity. Take all of 2 minutes. I'm not going to do the whole thing. And I want you to place the 8 squares from left to right and form a long plank. Take your 8 squares from left to right and form a long plank. Okay, divide the plank equally in half and put the right 4 squares on top of the left 4 squares, such that you see all 8 squares. So if you have 4 and 4, you're going to go like this, and you're going to make a rectangle of 8. But some kids will put them physically on top. Okay. And then, ready? I'm going to do one more thing, and then we'll be done. I want you to take the top. I want you to rotate your rectangle 90 degrees. Yes. Okay. And now what I want you to do is I want you to take the top 2 squares and put them at the base of the rectangle, one on the left and one on the right, such that it looks like a hat. Okay. So what you heard me do in this activity was use a lot of analogies, a lot of descriptions so that it looks like a hat, so that it looks like a rectangle. I'm using a lot of direction vocabulary. You can also ask kids to create their own series of directions. They love these activities. They're short and they're quick. So, thank you everyone.